So, some rather surprising news came out over the weekend that our 46th president of the United States, Joseph R. Biden,
Hmm.
decided that he was going to commute or pardon the sentence of his son. Now, it's a pretty controversial topic. Most of the stuff that I have seen is that Democrats are more angry about it than the Republicans, though the Republicans
They're still
they're
pissed.
they're very happy with pardoning criminals these days. They don't have any problems with that. So I haven't heard a lot on the Republican side, but the liberals are really mad. I do want to get your opinion on all of this, Cap. What do you think
Hmm.
about the Hunter Biden pardon?
It just shows all these politicians, whether they try to claim like they're the virtuous, morally right party, they're all scumbags. I like that's just this is something I've been saying for a while now that these people that try to virtue signal and we're the morally right, but no, you're all scumbags. You're all about power. And this is just another act to me that just shows that, yeah, he knows that his son, Hunter, did something that wasn't on the up and up, and they profited from. I mean, in the pardon itself was very open ended. By the way, it wasn't just like a particular set. Like it was a big timetable. I believe it was from like 2014 till now, right? Or it was about 11 years, and his acts from a certain beginning date to an end date, and just it left it very open ended. Like anything that he's done, I've pardoned him from, and it puts into a lot of those questions we've had about Burisma and Hunter Biden's interest in that sector over there in Ukraine. It's like maybe all those conservative talking points weren't all crazy talk, and maybe there was some true corruption going on, and maybe we got involved in something more to do with the financial investment more than anything else. Now, I know that's a whole loaded conversation, but it just goes to show that, yeah, I mean, Hunter Biden definitely did something. You wouldn't be having such an open ended pardon if he didn't. There was something criminal that happened there, and Joe Biden, to be fair to him, he wants to protect his son. I can understand that. That's his kid, but he knows his kid did something wrong there. And if Trump got into the office and investigated and digged, it could have not ended so well for the Biden family. So for me, it's not a good look if you're a Democrat. It's a terrible look, but it also opens up for when Trump does pardons for the January 6th and things of that nature. That opens up
Well,
for
he was
like,
going to do
well,
that anyway, regardless of
right.
whether.
I get what you're saying, but it kind of like now people can be like, well, look what Biden did. He just left like a huge open-ended pardon, so his son couldn't face jail time. I mean, you can't really
I mean,
complain.
Trump already did that in his last presidency, pardoning all of his criminal friends. So, I mean,
Yeah,
there's precedent for that already. There's precedent
yeah.
already
I
for
mean,
that, you
no,
know?
you're right. You're fair there. I mean, but it's just yeah, it's
It looks
pathetic in my
ugly when you're
opinion.
supposed to be the moral high ground, according to you as a liberal, and
Yeah,
then you go and do that.
and none of them do have the moral high ground. I mean, it's. I understand it, human nature. You want to protect your kid, but it doesn't make the Democrats look good at all. But I'd like to know your opinion because you already kind of knew where my slant would be. What do
Oh,
you
yeah,
think
I
about
already
it?
knew. I already knew. Um, but I do want to make sure that we don't mislead the viewer. You guys should understand that these criminal charges that he was found guilty of had nothing to do with any business in Ukraine. Had absolutely nothing to do with that. So we don't want to make it seem like that is connected. It's just something that Cap was alluding to as far as Hunter
Because how
Biden
open,
being a very controversial figure in
yeah,
general, like considered to be kind of sleazy and not
and
on the
all,
up and up.
and how open ended the pardon was.
Right.
There's a lot of that language. So yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Now, my initial reaction to this was of contempt. But I've had a few days to think about it and talk to some people. And I was sent this by somebody that I know. This is from the former Attorney General, Eric Holder. Eric Holder said, no U.S. attorney would have charged this case given the underlying facts. After a 5-year investigation, the facts as discovered only made that clear. Had his name been Joe Smith, the resolution would have been, fundamentally and more fairly, a declination. Pardon warranted. So, and he goes on to mention Kash Patel. Now, that was the first thing that I thought when I was like, actually, I can see why he would make this move, because if he allowed Hunter Biden to sit in a federal prison while Donald Trump was in office, something really bad could happen to him for a charge that normally that charge is not brought unless there is an underlying criminal some other criminal act in conjunction with him lying about lying on his application for a firearm. So, from what I understand, they would not normally charge any Americans simply for lying on the application for a firearm. They would add that charge if a crime was committed with that firearm. So the fact that they really, really pushed really, really hard to get this conviction while Biden was in office, might I add, kind of lets you know that it was open season on anybody. And Joe Biden actually let this happen and didn't immediately try to commute the sentence of his son. He didn't immediately do that. But when I started thinking, I was just like, they're going to put a bunch of Trump loyalists in the White House, and instead of the FBI being independent and nonpartisan, it is going to be the weapon arm of the executive branch for the next 4 years. I didn't think that it would be a safe place. I don't think that a prison, a federal prison, for any amount of time would have been a safe place for Hunter Biden to be in. And so from that perspective, like I started thinking about it, would Biden have pardoned him if Kamala would have won? And I don't think that that pardon would have gone through if Kamala would have won. So I have a little bit less of a problem with it just on those grounds alone. I think that we're going to go into a time next year where we're not looking at a dictator just on day one, as Donald Trump has claimed. Donald Trump is going to do everything in his power to really wield his power like a cudgel. And I just don't think that political opponents are going to fare well in the federal prison system when they find themselves there. So that's my perspective on it.
For me, I don't think Trump's gonna do the whole this is where we do disagree a bit. I think we've had 4 years of Trump, and I'm not as worried about that. I think day-to-day Americans, it's just gonna be much of the same.
I agree with that, but I'm talking about for his political opponents.
For his political opponents,
it's gonna be a rough ride.
But they opened up that door after the last 4 years of the constant.
I mean, he committed the crimes. Like, they didn't just bring fake-ass charges. Like, he did what they said he did.
How would I say this? Do I care about hush money in comparison to how, like, Nancy Pelosi is using insider trading?
But I don't want to do the whataboutism. I just
I'm just being real. Like, for me with the hush money thing, I'm not saying it's acceptable.
But that's something he did before he was president too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, the fraud in the state of New York. These are all things he actually did, and he didn't even say he didn't do it. He just said, "Well, this is just how we do business. Like, it's illegal, and you did it, right?" Now, for January 6th, I don't see anything that he actually said that was criminal. I do think that he spiritually incited that riot, but I don't think that it rose to where he should be held legally liable for it, either criminally or civilly.
I don't think there's any grounds to hold him.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because it's just, if you're going to say that, I mean, you could really say any politician that goes out there and speaks a certain way, and then somebody does some random act of violence, right?
Right.
Then it just opens up this whole Pandora's box that I do
think that he wasn't upset that it happened, but you can't charge somebody for that. But for the whole election subversion thing, they got him on tape telling people in Georgia, go find the votes, and it's like, dude, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that, you know. So
Well,
it's
yeah,
not like, people were taking stuff that wasn't crimes and tried to trump it up, except in the January 6th incident. That's the one time where I thought that he did something that was below a criminal statute that they were like really trying to nail him to the wall on that he didn't deserve. But
right.
he took documents from the White House you're not supposed to take, and then he didn't give it back. And then he kept asking for the documents back, and he still held on to them. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it
I,
happened.
listen, I'm
Whether
not
you think they
really.
should be crimes or not is a different topic and a different conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we do have these laws on the books. What he did went against the laws. Period. Point blank. Whether you think he
Yeah.
was being, persecuted or simply prosecuted, it wasn't proper and it's not legal.
Fair. I mean, I've never denied that. I think if it was illegal and you want to get the letter of the book and throw the book at him, feel free to. I'm just saying, I'm not really surprised that like people like liberals are fearful of like, oh, we're gonna face persecution through legal means. I'm like, well, there's there's been this whole witch hunt or prosecution against Trump, which looks like that whole situation is going to be thrown out because he's been elected and presidential power and things of that nature. We'll see how that plays out,
Right.
but
But it
it's
also
just.
kind of lets you know you can be the world's biggest fucking criminal now as long as you get elected.
I mean, the biggest gangsters in the world are the politicians in America.
Or
I mean,
the police organizations around the country.
I'm just being real. Like, yeah, I mean, you could have that whole conversation with some like corrupt police forces and all the things of that nature, and kind of like wield certain power in the corrupt districts. I get that, but I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of these modern day politicians have just a ridiculous amount of power and the ability, just because of their inside track and inside knowledge, to just have not even just a leg up on regular everyday Americans, but like 10 steps ahead, 10 miles ahead even. So,
Right.
but I mean, as for Hunter Biden's pardon, I don't think it's a good look for the Democrats.
No, no, no.
They're
And the
big.
Democrats hate it.
Yeah, I mean, but their big stance of being the party of morality and things of that nature, that all goes out the window now. It's like
Yeah.
you can't take the high ground when you stoop down to the lowest level to secure
But
essentially
also, I don't think that
12
Joe
year.
Biden. I also don't think that Joe Biden gives a fuck about his legacy. He doesn't even have a real legacy.
I think Joe Biden voted for Trump. I'm being real. I'm being real. I think Joe Biden voted for Trump. I'm being real. Like, think about it. Think about it. Think about this. Like, I'm gonna go there right now. Right? That man was so happy when Trump was in office. Right? When they did that whole meeting, like he looked like he was grinning and was happy. I'm like, oh, is this guy on something?
This is why I stopped trusting politics. When I saw George W. Bush like being all chummy with Bill Clinton in the early 90s after they talked so much shit about each other. That was when I was just like, politics is fake.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just it's funny like all the Democrats. I know this isn't this conversation, but I'll say this: like, oh, he's a monster, he's a Nazi, and all this stuff. And then next we win, it's like we gotta have a peaceful transition of power. We're all hugging and smiling and shit because it's all bullshit. Let's be honest with you. They've used all these big offensive words like Nazi, misogynistic, and like you go on about it, right? Like alt right. And they've kind of lessened the power of those words because they just said it every day. And now everyday Americans like, is he really? Like, no, not really. So it's just, it's interesting in that fashion. And I think Biden voted for Trump because he looked happy as hell. And the Democrat Party, let's not forget this. They did him dirty, right? Like they did him dirty.
Thought Trump was Kamala.
Yo, I mean, I do think he has something mentally going on. Like maybe he could have thought like, that hair. It's a little different color, but that might be Kamala. I mean, and to me, this is Joe Biden's ultimate middle finger to the Democrat Party. It's like, all right, like you wanted me out, you lost without me.
He's an establishment guy anyway, pandering to the left, the
is
extreme
but
left, and he didn't agree with none of that stuff. All of that pro alphabet soup stuff. He only did that to get the votes.
Dude, all those Democrat politicians, especially older ones, like you can go back and watch on film, like even Obama, both Clintons, they were all anti-gay marriage and all that stuff. It's all on. You can look into it. It's all pandering bullshit.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, It's all just kind of placating to a certain base, and let's just kind of keep it real. I mean, conservatives do it too with Christianity, right?
Oh,
Uh,
don't get me started.
they just go over the top with it, like we're the party of Jesus. So I'm like, oh, whatever. And it gets a little bit heavy-handed, but I mean, it's like Democrats depend on the black vote, and they don't do anything for black men and black women. But they depend on that vote, and they just feel like that vote, regardless, is theirs anyways. And that's the same thing with like white conservative Christians. I'd say same thing. It's just different groups. Anyways, yeah, the Hunter Biden. Not look. It's not a good look for America, in my opinion. Not
Yeah,
a good look.
but I also think that we've already had a precedent for this type of corruption because that's really what it is. It's a form of corruption.
Yeah.
And it's one that I don't inherently disagree with just simply because of what the incoming situation is. I don't think that Hunter Biden would get the sentence he deserves and have it play out the way that it should play out if Trump is in office. I just think that he's going to get so much worse
Oh no. Yeah.
than what he's supposed to get for the crime that he was convicted for.
Yeah.
And I think getting him out of there now. And the thing is, I got to give Biden some credit. He let his son sit in there for a while.
Yeah. It probably didn't get him something nice for his birthday or something. He's like, you know what?
Oh shit.
It's like, oh, Hunter, like, what's this bullshit? Like next time,
He's
next
getting
Christmas, I'm
coal in his
partying.
stocking though in a few weeks though.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I think, and this is more speculation. I think there's more there. I think that's the main reason why I did the pardon. That's why he left it. I looked at it from Biden himself. He left it for 12 years, right? I think there was going to be more down the pipeline.
What do you mean 12
right?
years?
12 years. It's like very open-ended the way he did his pardon. Like it spans over 12 any actions essentially within 12 years. So it's
Ah, okay. And that
so,
yeah. I get
so,
what you're saying.
so I think there's more there. I do. I think there's more there, and I think the government has done
Yeah,
a good.
but I also think that like the more there is like, he purchased pink cocaine from some transvestite in Las Vegas, Nevada somewhere, and he slapped, a prostitute and
Nah,
got into a fist fight with her pimp or something like that.
we can disagree. We can disagree. I think there's some actual government corruption going on there, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
the
mean,
thing is, I don't know if that's the case one way or the other, but
yeah.
my first inclination is because the thing is they really dug the Republicans dug super deep, and the only thing that they can come back with is that he lied on a gun form. Like,
Yeah.
if it'd be one thing if the Democrats were going after Hunter Biden, but it was the Republicans trying to find everything they could, and they just came back with a weak ass charge. To me, that tells me that it's a lot of petty drug addict nonsense that they could try to hit him with later to then railroad him to get him back into prison because they found, we got him on tape purchasing, doing a hand to hand or something like that. You know what I mean?
You're doing a line of Destiny's.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And on that note, because we are going into a new presidency, this podcast is now a white-owned business.
And make sure to, and this is one thing, you see how well spoken he is. I'm trying. Sorry.
Dude, you have no idea. The the phrase "well spoken" is so incredibly racist. Oh man!
I couldn't even finish what I was gonna say.
Oh god, we're going to hell.
Oh fuck. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe.